Oh, good morning, everyone. So, where's Jeremy? Everyone's waiting and watching and so on. Well, there he is. That's him in the distance. That's a shot from Rob Vorman on Explorer at the moment, our OGR boat. They're out there going to hang out with Jeremy. We're not going to start the live, though, until he gets a bit closer because it gets a fair bit going on. So, we're still back in the office right now because it could take some time. And Ada's not here at the moment either. She's got another commitment, so she's racing back. And this is basically where he is. He's only, in fact, if we let's sort of get onto the tracker here. Am I on the right one here? Okay. Why is that showing as a different screen? Now I've got a problem here. I'm not sure where that one's. Oh, here it is. It's coming from this one here. Okay, so distance to the finish for Jeremy, and I'll just go back this way. He's basically about 6 miles away from the actual line. Now, why aren't I getting that? Oh, I know what's going on. Sorry. We're on Windy at the moment. This is about where he is. So I'll forget about that one and I'll come over to the, sorry, I just realized what's going on. So I've got to now get onto the right tracker. Just bear with me. The suspense is killing us all. Okay, so this is the tracker. Right, now I know where I am. Okay, so you should be seeing the same thing that I've got. And here's where he is right there, going nowhere. Here's the sort of technical finish line for him, even though it's just a class. It's just going to, complete his circumnavigation, you might say. He's 5.8 nautical miles from the actual finish line. And that's not very far. Normally that would be an hour. But the reality is that right at this minute, he just moved again. He's only doing 0.4 of a knot. There's basically no wind there, which is quite interesting because on the tracker, it's when you put the wind overlay, it's suggesting, and in fact, I'll do that right now. It's suggesting that there is a little bit of wind, but it's dying. So if you accept that's his position, I'm going to drop it over now to Windy TY or Windy. I've got to do that on this one here, and I'll explain what's going on with the weather and explain why he's still going to be maybe 3-4 hours to go yet before he actually gets here. In fact, I fell for a bit of a trap this morning. It's been very hard to predict what's going on, and this will make sense in a minute. This is his current position, and I think you should have that on the screen, on the Windy screen. Yes, so now I've got to go to the Windy big map so I can manipulate that. 6 miles to the finish, it's showing 13 knots southeasterly, right? Now, if there was a 13 knot southeasterly there right now, Jeremy would be sailing. So that's obviously not correct. And here's the explanation to that. If I start zooming out into the actual bigger picture of the weather, bearing in mind that now it's a long way out. This is out in the Bay of Biscay. But you can see this sort of distortion in the isobars here and a lot of instability going on. And if I pull this back even further, this is current time, real time now, 10 o'clock. This is the windy projection. And you can see there's this strong local airflow here, southeasterly. But that's an interpretation from computer modeling, which is not necessarily so accurate because of this distortion, and it's moving quite fast. And to show you that, I'm going to take you backwards a bit. I'm going to go back to 4 o'clock in the morning. And you can see here, 4 o'clock this morning, see there's all these holes everywhere. There's a bit of snakes and ladders going on. And this was what was making it really hard to predict. And as you come forward, there's still quite soft holes. If we pull this around, you can see sort of 8 knots, 6 knots, 5 knots, 7 knots. Very hard to predict at all. Coming forward again, there's 5 knots there, and there's 10, 12 knots there. There's 15 along the coast, but right in here, there's only 9 knots. It just means it's very hard to predict, and it's all coming down to local weather. So if we now local situations, and now to complicate it, you have the issue of the land warming up and sea breezes and all those sorts of things. So even though it's showing, in Jeremy's area, which is about here, showing 12 knots southeasterly, here in the office is about 5 knots of breeze, if that. And this is a bit of a wind shadow, but the wind is swinging. It was an easterly, and right now is the transition to the southeast. So it's impossible to predict. That's what I'm getting back to. So now if I go back to our tracker to give you distances and so on and try and explain what's going on there. Now you've got the tracker on screen. I will start to blow it up a bit more. Okay, so imagine when the breeze fills in, it is absolutely going to be from the southeast. It's coming in this direction. And when the breeze fills in, he's still only doing 0.4 of a knot. He might get up to a speed of about 3 knots. Okay, and I'll show you how long it might take if he's got to make 3 knots. Now, if the wind's coming from the southeast this way, he's got to tack. So Jeremy may make 3 knots and be able to tack over this way, even if he could get to the beach. That's about his course with a southeasterly. There's an hour. So there's 1 hour to get to there. Then he'd absolutely have to tack. And then tacking back on the southeaster. He wouldn't actually go in that close to the beach, obviously. I'm just showing you how the distance multiplies. Southeasterly here, that's the best he could do. And so he's probably going to have to tack out to about here. That's nearly 2 hours, right? Or an hour and a bit. So there's 1 hour, 2 hours. And then to get back to the line, there's 4 miles, so that potentially 4 hours to go, and that's assuming that he actually starts sailing very soon at 3 knots. So 4 hours to go. It's currently 10 o'clock local time, so that's 2 o'clock in the afternoon before he gets across. That's assuming he starts sailing and assuming the wind is a southeasterly and assuming he can make 3 knots. So this is going to be a bit of a saga. I know there's people sitting up. We've had a few phone calls. I know everyone in Simontown at the yacht club there, Jeremy's Yacht Club's waiting. So are we. Ada's rushing here at the moment to try and come out with us, and Explorer's sitting beside him, keeping him company a bit, but it could be some time before we get out and do the live. And we'll come out, probably an hour before he actually gets to the line and cover it from there. So the best thing you can do, the tracker is actually on now every 15 minutes. So you can actually keep up with that, and just follow what's going on. But it's a slow process, and it's going to take a while. So it's poor old Jeremy. You may have read his tweet. He's becalmed, and he said that's typical of the last 277 days. But that's sailing. Sorry. Oh, you're looking at you. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, Jane's just so we're ready to go. We've got all the food for him, and bits and pieces. We got all that last night and this morning. So we'll keep you updated. But that's why the weather's playing tricks. It all comes down to local weather now. That system out the front is really unstable. There's wind transitioning. It's going to swing around from later today from behind what would have been behind Jeremy. So he's really one of those things. Anyway, we'll keep you updated. Follow the tracker, and we'll hopefully see him very soon. I'm not sure what that one is there. Yeah, there's his picture. There it is.